This section of the DevTest Product Expert Training will cover dynamic verification points. Specifically in this section, we'll cover what are dynamic verification points, configuring dynamic verification points in the DevTest admin, setting up dynamic verification points in the template view, and finally, dynamic verification points and test execution. Dynamic verification points are set up on the verification point settings page, the same page where you might set up the fixed verification points. By checking the Support Dynamic Verification Points checkbox, along with the Support Verification Point Matrix checkbox, you'll have the ability to see dynamic verification points in a couple different ways. There are additional settings that are present on this page that allow you to control the number of dynamic verification points that are generated during task creation. Dynamic verification points, like fixed verification points, are set up in the template view by clicking on the Setup button next to the Expected Result field. The verification point setup wizard allows you to pick whether you would like to have no verification points, fixed verification points, dynamic verification points, or have a verification point matrix. Both the dynamic verification point option along with the verification point matrix will both use dynamic verification point variables. I can create new variables by clicking New, and I can assign a new variable like weather if I want, and add some new selections like snow, wind, and rain. These variables, along with variables I've already configured like team and stadium, can be used to generate a list of items for a tester to verify. When I click Finish, I'll see that there's going to be 25 possible verification points, and based on what my settings are, it may assign all of them, or I can have DevTest only assign a selection of them. If I choose one of the two options below, I can randomly generate a list at task creation, or I can randomly generate a list at template creation. The difference would be if I randomly generate a list at template creation, it'll always retain the same list. Whereas at task creation, each time a new task is created from this template, a new list will be created. I also have the option to select the without replacement option if I want to make sure that at each task creation, a new set is assigned until all of the possible combinations have been assigned. So in this case, if I pick 5 at a time with 25 possible, for task 1, it'll assign 5. For task 2, it'll assign a new 5 up until the 5th test cycle, and by that point, we'll have assigned out all 25 possible combinations. And after I click Finish, I can see that there are going to be 25 possible verification points that will be created, and I can see the actual verification points for this task. Now, depending on whether I select all permutations or set a random number of permutations to be created, either at the template level or the task level, that'll determine how many steps a tester sees. Now, in the task view, we'll jump over to the task view now. In the task view, just as a tester would see for fixed verification points, they're going to see a list of items to verify. But instead of seeing a list of steps and expected results that you might enter yourself, they're going to see a list that has been generated by DevTest based on the combination. So they're going to see that they need to test the 49ers at a New York stadium, at San Francisco, Dallas, New England, and so on and so forth. The tester can fill those out by selecting the appropriate status, and then all the same rules that apply in terms of the roll-up of the verification point status to the task status will also apply for these dynamic verification points. If the user decides to use a verification point matrix, then the wizard will be a little bit different. So back in the template view, when they select on Setup again, and this time let's pick the verification point matrix instead. When using the verification point matrix, you're going to pick team for a column, for example. So you're going to select both your rows and columns. So I'm going to select team for my row, and I'm going to pick how many rows I want to have. I'm going to have 5. And then I'm going to pick what I want my columns to look like. And first it's going to show me what the row is going to look like. And now I'm going to pick my column. We'll do the same combination again. We'll do stadium. We'll do 5 again. Oops. And now we'll do 6. And now I'm going to see the possible combination there. Now when I click finish, it'll preview what that's going to look like. And it will be a grid for the tester. Now, depending on what settings I use, the tester can actually have a drop-down value, like the other verification points, or in the admin, you can also set it up so that it's a checkbox, so that they can use a checkbox to represent pass or fail, depending on how you wish to set it up. And finally, as I mentioned in the section on fixed verification points, all of the data that you're collecting as verification points is also going to be available on those planning view reports, and also in most of the dev test reports in the report view, so that you'll have the option to either report by task data or verification point data.